You're listening to the Mindful Mama podcast, episode number 341. Today, we're having a special honor coaching call about ignoring my questions. Welcome to the Mindful Mama podcast, now with over 1 million downloads. Here, it's about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. At Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you've calm and peace within, then you can give it to your children. I'm your host, Hunter Clark-Field's Mindful Mama mentor. I help smart, thoughtful parents stay calm so they can have strong, connected relationships with their children. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years. I'm the creator of Mindful Parenting, and I'm the author of Raising Good Humans, a mindful guide to breaking the cycle of reactive parenting and raising kind, confident kids. Thank you so much for being here. Hello, welcome back. You might hear a cold in my voice. Oh my goodness. My husband went to San Francisco for a conference. He makes algorithmic electronic music. Anyway, he went to a conference and had a great time and brought me back a virus. Thanks, honey. Oh my goodness. But I'm finally feeling better and I'm so excited to share this episode with you. And it is an on-air, special on-air coaching session. And in Mindful Parenting, we offer 36 hours a year of live personal coaching with the hundreds of members. And this is one of the members. So I can't wait for you to dive into this episode. But listen, if you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And take a minute, do me a favor, go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and review. It really just helps the podcast grow more. It just takes a minute. And I really greatly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You know, if you've gotten some value from this podcast, it just makes such a big difference. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into this episode. So, the way we start every coaching session in mindful parenting, as you know, is that we begin with the wins. So, what are your wins, Courtney?
Yeah, I have a couple, I guess. I definitely, the last couple weeks have been more consistent with an evening meditation, which has been really, really helpful. I've really noticed that over the last couple months that when I fall off that wagon, I really feel it during the day with the boys. And so when I'm more consistent, as I have been,
Woot,
um,
woot, woot.
uh,
Yay.
10, 15 minutes right now is where I'm at.
Good.
But pretty much every night. And I really take that time to kind of use that to set my intention for the next day. Um, and I really feel it's been helping to stay calmer during the day with them. Excuse me. So that's been good just to be able to kind of have that resource.
Yeah, it's
Like
like an
that's the
anchor
thing.
in the day.
Yeah. And in the last couple of days, I've had a few good moments with between the when there's been a sibling wobble, sibling conflict, and have been able to uh, like approach it calmly and just kind of and with a bit of curiosity, not assume that I from hearing what's going on that I know what happened,
Mm.
and ask them both, what happened, and it seems to help a bit of like them staying calmer and then contributing to a bit of a resolution. It's happened a couple times anyway. So
Yay, those are awesome wins. Good
mhm,
job, Courtney. Woot, woot, woot. You should definitely celebrate those wins. Those are really great because, yeah, your meditation feeds into you being able to approach that moment calmly and with curiosity. And when we do that, like when they're having a squabble and you're, or whatever's happening, and you can go into that non judgmentally, they feel that you're just accepting what's happening. Like this, okay, this is what's happening. Can I be curious about what's happening? They can feel that acceptance rather than judgment. So that probably helps them to talk to you, be less defensive, and even borrow some of your calm, which
mhm,
is really kind of what you want them to do, right? Like,
right.
so you're like modeling good stuff there. Way to go. Good job, mama.
Thanks.
So tell us a little about your family, and then we'll talk about some challenges that are arising.
Sure. We have two boys. Our oldest Cove is 4.5, or almost 5 in May, and our second Forest is almost 2.5. And right now, I'm full time at home with them. We have our oldest out of part time preschool right now, but he'll be going back in a couple weeks. Um, and don't have any other childcare at the moment, and we don't have any immediate family, within 4 hours from us. Um, so it can be tough sometimes. That's why I've really been, yeah. Sometimes it's a struggle, but sometimes I'm able to, meditate and, uh, go through the day okay with them.
And was
Um,
this a conscious choice for you, Liz? Is this something you always wanted to do, is be a stay-at-home mom, or is this something you're adapting to?
it's kind of something I've adapted to. I definitely, really wanted kids and knew that I would spend, you know, time at home with them. Um, but because of my husband's work the last 5 years, like essentially since we've had kids, um, it's been really me as a really primary caregiver, 90, 95% of the time. So it's a lot sometimes. And then with the pandemic, obviously, things became more demanding and moving to somewhere that was farther away from family too. So,
Oh.
and we've had our oldest in and out of part-time preschool as it's safe enough to, or we feel comfortable with it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then our oldest also has type 1 diabetes, and that's just over a year ago he was diagnosed. So that's a huge that was a huge shift and a huge increase in demand on me in terms of caring for them, because
What
it
does
really
that mean
requires.
for you guys? Yeah.
So he needs insulin whenever he eats, and so that means initially for the first 8 to 10 months, it's injections. We've had him, 4 to 6 injections a day of insulin, and it's counting all the carbs that he eats, all his snacks and all the meals, and I have to calculate, recipes that I make, and then the portion that he gets, and so it's a lot of extra prep when making food and serving him his meals, and then he's so young that often the challenge is that we calculate what he's going to eat. I calculate what he's going to eat. I ask him, what he's going to eat, and then I give him his insulin, ideally 10, 15 minutes before he eats. And we sit down to eat, and he eats half the food, and he's 4.5, and then he plays at the table and doesn't want to eat the rest, and it's quite worrisome because he needs to be eating the right amount because we've already given him insulin for it. So
Oh, wow.
that can be a big stressor. Yeah. So it's just it's a big thing to manage. Um,
Yeah.
so that is like an added stress of the last year. Um,
And you're managing this all by yourself, hours and
Pretty much.
hours away from
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
You're in a new town too, so you don't even like know that many people probably around you.
Yeah. We've been here a couple years, so now we have some good friends, but because of the pandemic, it's been mostly outdoor playtime visits, not as much indoor or like relaxing with friends while the kids play.
And you're in
So
Canada,
yeah.
so this outdoor it play in the
Luckily, we like the
winters.
winter, but the winters are long. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hearing like a lot of isolation for
Oh yeah.
you.
Yeah. The last couple years have been pretty isolating for sure. Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, and I think
and
that's really why I like started the mindful parenting course last. I signed up last August, July, August, and started it August, September, because I, had spent months really kind of isolated with them and was really struggling to keep calm with them, and really felt that I wasn't parenting the way I wanted to parent. So,
I mean, the stressors on you are a lot. Like, not
mhm.
only, I mean, just parenthood in itself is such an incredible stressor, but then to have the isolation and then your son's diagnosis, I mean, you're holding an incredible amount of stuff right now. And then you're
Yeah,
holding it mostly like 90% of the time, right, on your own because your husband's doing
yeah,
some intensive work. Is your
yeah, yeah,
doctor going to be a doctor?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, and
Uh,
when he's home and has time, like he's with us and with the boys, and they love him to bits, and he helps when he can. It's just been how it was, and it'll be easier, in the near future. But just everything always happens all at the same time, right? So
Okay, so before we even go on to whatever your challenges are, like this is like the big number one challenge right now. I think I can see for you is this isolation that I would encourage both of you to be working on rectifying as
Hmm.
best you can. And and sometimes that means, it I mean, I guess just to identify that this is really hard for you. And this and
Hmm.
it shouldn't be this hard. Like this is the conditions of life are causing this to be a lot harder we didn't evolve to just be alone in a
Hmm.
house 24 hours a day with like two small boys. Um, so I would just encourage you before we do anything, talk about any of the challenges, just really try to sit down with your husband, s- think, write numbers 1 through 10 down, and then challenge yourselves to really be creative to think of 10 different ways that you could address this need for being less isolated and having more support. And you're going to find, like, you're going to think of like 3 things, and then you're going to be like, okay, whatever, like 10 things, like, but really push yourselves to get out of the box, because your health depends on this, your parenting, like all of these things. The
Hmm.
stress is enormous. I imagine your sleep, is not amazing either. Like, this should really be a priority for both you and your husband, is
Hmm.
to have more support
Hmm.
in your lives.
Hmm.
Do you agree? Do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. And we're looking into, like, we had tried to find some part-time childcare in December, um, and then Omicron hit, and we were like, well, it doesn't make
Uh,
very much sense to have someone who's working elsewhere and that we don't
yeah.
know come in just a few hours a week. Um, so we put that on hold. But now we've been talking about trying to find someone for April, May, June part time, and we're planning on sending our oldest back to part time preschool, and that doesn't change any isolation factor, but it does kind of give me a little break during the day where I just have one child to focus on. And also, in Canada, we look forward to the warm weather, the springtime, and being able to, that makes outdoor visits easier, even if we're not doing too many indoor visits. So
Yeah, I'm gonna,
yeah, I've been thinking anyway about it.
we haven't, I'm not
Sorry.
sure as of when we release this what the order will be for the podcast, but I've recorded a podcast with a colleague about how to get more support for your family. So I'm going to give you like the little backdoor link to that
Oh,
so
great.
that you can listen to it ahead of time, and we really talk about this idea. But yeah, some things you can think of are like even mothers helpers, or you know, yeah. Anyway, that I'll give you the link to that, because we talk
Sure.
about take
Thank you.
like some time to talk about all the different ways we can do that.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. So let's just be hopeful and say health is on the horizon.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about some of the challenges. What are the challenges that are rising?
Sure. There's been a few kind of more recurring ones. One is, well, one with our oldest, who's, as I said, almost 5, is we often when we ask him questions, and they can be really, really mundane, non-threatening questions, like what he wants for breakfast, and not even an open-ended question. I'm very good about trying to give him like a couple choices rather than just letting his mind wander through the possibilities. But like, do you want oatmeal or toast? Often questions, or like, if we're sitting at the table, down at the table, breakfast, like, oh, like, have you gone pee yet this morning?
Mm,
We go pee when we get up. Have you gone pee yet? Um, and he just won't answer,
mm,
and he just refuses to answer. And of course, when we express getting frustrated about that, or we ask him again, um, he just, I can see him like close the door even tighter. um, and so yeah, and it's really frustrating because, like, if I'm asking a question and there's no, like, I understand that maybe he's doing this because in the past, I've asked him something accusingly, judgmentally, or like already upset about what happened because I assume that I
Mm.
know what happened, and so defensive, and he's anticipating that. But if we're, quite often, if we're just asking a question like we would ask anyone, um, it can be really frustrating to be like the answer is so simple, like yes, I went pee, or no, I didn't go pee, or I'll have oatmeal and not toast.
It's
Um,
super annoying. Oh my
and
god.
we yeah, really annoying. And we say like, when you don't answer the question, A, it's frustrating. B, I don't know what to give you for breakfast. Like we try to explain why we're asking the question. Um, and sometimes it can like if we get stuck in that, it like really escalates. Like he just refuses, and then we get
Okay, so you can identify kind of maybe the roots of this, that like in the past you've asked him questions and he's been in a way that has caused him to be defensive.
hmm
So there could be some residual resistance here, right? Like
hmm
he formed a habit of resistance and now he wants this habit of resistance. I imagine as with this whole diabetes diagnosis, he feels pretty powerless
Oh
over
yeah,
this.
yeah. I think he probably has, but not maybe not consciously, but definitely subconsciously has a real sense of like lack of control. Like we have to control so much about what he eats, when he eats. Giving him insulin. Um, I would think that he has a sense of powerlessness.
So he probably has a real unmet need for autonomy, for
hmm
some autonomy over his
Yeah, for
life and
sure.
his body, right?
hmm
Yeah. And that's the way a lot of kids control, have some autonomy is through what they eat. And he
Yeah,
doesn't have that. So he can control, I guess, what he says. That
that's true.
that's that's a
Yeah.
way he can have some autonomy. For these questions, like for the innocuous questions like, well, oatmeal or toast, um, and like, hey, did you go pee this morning? Is it important that you get the answers to those questions?
I mean, some of them know. Like this morning, if he doesn't want to answer, he is almost 5. He is just going to go pee when he needs to. I think and I've been trying to be better about that specifically, um, letting go of asking him, prompting him because he is old enough. It's just that prior to the diagnosis, very commonly kids have trouble holding, like they'll just pee because they have to, their body's trying to pee a lot. So I think partly because of like a few months of that, it kind of put me back into, oh, I need to prompt him.
Mm,
So that's something that I'm working on, like letting go of and giving him full
mm,
autonomy on. So some of the questions, yeah, you're right. I don't need an answer to. The food ones, I guess I don't need an answer either. But then I'm stuck with I'm making the decision for him again, whereas I've
mm.
tried to give him the opportunity to make a decision. And also in those situations, what I find often is if I'm like, okay, well, you have an answer, then give me toast. Then he'll be like, no, I want oatmeal. Or I'll give it to him and be like, no, I want oatmeal. So I'm trying to give him the chance to
Uh-huh.
make that choice.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, that can be frustrating. I can imagine. Okay, so that's good. So practicing, I think maybe practicing letting go, because if he's like, so you're in a situation where you're asking a question, he's defensive. So I'm making
hmm
the image for the listener, like the two fists coming together, right?
hmm
And he's being here, and you got to be a little bit of like a Tai Chi mama, and like
mm
not just meet that energy with resistance, but like kind of move that energy around,
Right.
or let that flow, right? So
hmm
you can identify like what's happening. Sounds like you don't want to answer me right now, buddy.
hmm
And you can say, well, I guess it's not that important that I get the answer to this question. Like, so, okay, you can just let it go. That's fine. But some questions like, whether it's oatmeal or toast, you could say, well, if you don't answer, I'm going to have to choose for you. And I don't want to like waste food if you change your mind. Do you want to have another chance to just give it a choice? Otherwise, I'll just choose toast today. Okay. So, you know, you could say, hey, I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna wipe the counter and then just let me know what you want, right? Give him like a heartbeat or two to like make the
Yeah,
choice,
yeah, yeah.
not just
Yeah.
instantly answer right now. Um, and and then, I think that there could be some logical consequences if he makes choices that are like frustrating and food wasteful.
Mhm.
Like so say he says, "No, no, I want oatmeal." And you chose toast. You can say, "Okay, I'll save this toast for later and you
Right.
can have it with lunch." Okay. like I'll cut up
Yeah.
this toast and put some peanut butter on it later and you can have it with lunch. And try to take the fight out of it because you don't want
Right.
it to be a fight, right? You want
No.
to
Yeah.
you want to kind of be on his side. You want to be on team family, not fighting each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, so I would and that's like what's helpful about like you and your husband you were describing how you were responding with some I messages like
Mhm.
when you don't answer, I feel frustrated
Mhm.
and then I don't know what to make, right? Like that's a very
Mhm.
good and clear I message. Um and but what's interesting about it is that an iMessage has like what he's doing and how it makes you feel, but also the effect. And
Mhm.
there isn't really like the effect on you is just you don't know what to make or you're wasting some toast, right? It's not like it's super.
Yeah.
Sometimes as we go through the process of making those iMessages, we can see actually this doesn't affect me in a major
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
And some of those are going to be the indicators of the things you can let go. Like,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
it actually, like, impinging on your needs?
Mhm.
And, yeah, you may have a need not to, like, buy bread and then just throw it away, like, of course, you don't wanna do that, but that's not, one of the, like, sort of primary needs, I imagine. Stay tuned for more Mindful Mama podcast right after this break. We are supported by Evite. So I know you know this, but when you're a kid, every birthday is such a big deal, right? So we treat it like it is. And when it comes time to invite friends and family and your kids' friends to a birthday party, use Evite. I love Evite because it makes it so easy for me to stay organized. And when I don't use Evite, I like forget the reminders and all of these things. Evite offers thousands of free invitation templates for every birthday theme, all fully customizable. You can choose a design created by their community of professional artists, or you can actually upload your own unique design. They have like the classic designs, the princesses, the unicorns, the superheroes and dinosaurs, but they also have so many other designs. I have used Evite so many times. I love using them. Right now, I'm obsessed with their fluffy llama design. It's so adorable. I know llamas are kind of in right now, and it really is great. And last year I planted like 500 daffodils in this one section of our garden. So I'm gonna have a daffodil party, and Evite has the perfect card for it. It's amazing. I love it. Maybe you have a summer pool party, a bowling alley, or bounce house. Evite offers free and premium online birthday invitations to complement all kinds of kids' birthday party activities. It takes just a few minutes to create and send invitations to everyone on your guest list. It's so easy. Parents can RSVP for themselves and their kids, and you'll get those RSVP tracking in real time. And you can set up like a what to bring list, gifting options, and you can link an Amazon or Target gift registry to your invite for guests to use too. Evite even has tips and tricks for pulling off a kid's birthday party. And maybe the best part, you won't stress over whether your kids passed out the invitations to their friends at school. Make your little one's birthday party the big deal it is. Find amazing, beautiful, one-of-a-kind designs in minutes for free. Head over to evite.com/hunter. That's EVITE.com/hunter. Evite.com/hunter.
And I find, in that situation and other situations, I don't know if it's age or just that, I don't know, it hasn't been that long that been trying to use more iMessages. Like I don't find that he's responding to them yet in a way that I can see them being effective.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe it's age, and then that's this situation with the questions, for example, like taking an approach like you just explained, giving him a bit more time, you know, observing that he's not answering, and then just saying what, okay, well, I'm gonna have to make this, and giving him that like one last opportunity,
Yeah.
but not making it into head
Yeah.
match. Like maybe that's what's more effective with his age right
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can have a logical consequence of,
now.
stale toast later or whatever it is. Sometimes that logical consequence might be like, um, sorry, we have to go to the doctor's office. We have to leave to do that. I'm gonna help
Mhm,
you get out the door, right? I'm gonna pick you up right now. I'm gonna bring you to the car.
mhm, mhm.
We don't want to get to that point, obviously, but sometimes
Yeah.
that may be the logical consequence if that resistance for him is up really high. You said one of your other challenges you wrote to me about them beforehand was some resistance to like those requests, right? Do you want to give an example of that?
Yeah, yeah, with him especially. Yeah, so for example, we're playing in the living room and he's playing, whatever, trucks with Duplo or store or something. He's playing a game with toys. And we've said, the plan this morning is we're playing a bit inside after breakfast, and then we're going to the park, meeting some friends. And so to go to the park, we have to, get changed and put on our winter clothes and go pee, do everything we have to go do. And so I've given him, the plan for the morning and lots of advance time and time to play inside. And then when it's time to start being brushed, pushing him out the door, and I'll say, okay, time to let's go get our clothes on, or go pee, and then we get our clothes on. He'll often be like, okay, I just want to do this. I just want to pour one more dump load into the basket.
Yeah.
Finish feeding my animals, and I'll try to recognize what he's doing, and think, oh, you're still feeding your animals. Okay, one more mouthful for the bear. Or like, okay, one more dump truck in the basket, and then he'll do it. I'll say, okay, let's go get dress. I say, well, I just want to take one more scoop over here. Oh, I just need to put these over. I just need to finish putting these in the bank. And I'm like, well, we just did one more. Now you want one more again. And I know this will be one more again, one more again, one more again. Um, and I feel like I'm trying to be so flexible, like with the plan and the time inside first, and like keeping him in the loop of everything, not just coming and swooping him up and forcing him to get dressed, but really trying to involve him and keeping him aware. And he's often very like, I understand he's immersed in his playing and it's important to him. That's what kids do, and that's what he wants to keep doing. But he also wants to go to the park. He's told me he wants to go to the park.
Yeah.
Told me he wants to go play outside. Um, but I don't know how to like really, handle the situation better and get him out of, willingly get him out of, the cycle that he's in of like staying in what he's doing.
Well, I really appreciate the way you're approaching this because you have a lot of respect for him, and his autonomy and him playing imaginatively, which is like great. Like that's really good stuff for kids to do. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And you're super respectful of him as you're describing this and this whole approach. So that's awesome. That's really great. I mean, a lot of us would be super triggered before that point. So kudos to you for doing that. Um, there I there are a couple of places here. I mean, so if we think it kind of to the ultimate consequences, if you miss your friends altogether, that would stink, right? Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. Um, and so you can like, you can sort of crouch down and take his head in your hands and look him
Yeah.
in the eyes and say, "Hey, buddy, I really want to see our friends. Do
Yeah.
you? We got to go if we want to see our friends, right?" Like, so that's, you can start to explain that with a little bit more a little bit more of the power of like what's happening sort of behind it. Another thing I think though, this is a nice place for some of the playful responses
Mm.
that can be really helpful. You could
Mhm.
be like, I'm a big truck, vroom, vroom, and I'm here to carry you upstairs to get dressed, vroom, vroom. Do you want to get on the back of my lifter here on my back? And we're going to go up the stairs like a really loud big truck. And you could pretend to be a really loud big truck, right? Or you
Mhm.
could just be like mommy robot and you could be like, I am the getting ready robot. It is time to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Um, you can try tickling him. You can also like try to be contrary. You flop on the floor and you say, "Oh, we're never gonna go see our friends. I'm so sad. I'm in tears over never getting to see our friends like because of the trucks." And you could be like silly and dramatic. So all of these things are like really nice ways to just kind of those transitions, especially with the ages, with 4 years
Mhm.
old, and as you get with your younger son with these.
Yeah.
And we talk about some of those playful things, responses in mindful parenting, and they're in the workbook and stuff. But
Yeah.
those are all. This is a really prime age to
Mhm.
practice those, and then
Mhm.
it's fun because then you can lighten up a bit about the whole thing,
Yeah.
and it lightens them up, and it brings you together. And so then when you do have to, when you make it fun like that, or you try to be playful like that, you're putting those deposits in that
Mhm.
relationship bank account. So then when eventually you do need to withdraw and
Mhm.
you're like, dude, I am so frustrated because you are doing, I saw you hit your brother and I felt so scared.
Mhm.
And I'm really worried about this. We need to find a way to help you find a better way to do this, right? Or
Mhm.
whatever. When you need to talk to him seriously about some things that are really important, you've got all those deposits in that relationship bank account, and then you can withdraw, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You want to put, like they say, five positive deposits in before you do any kind of withdrawal.
Yeah.
How's this landing with you?
Good. Yeah, I know that he responds well to the playful engagement, and I've been trying to think of it, but I don't think I've been thinking of it enough. And I did like a couple weeks ago finish go through maybe the module 6 of the course, and at the end there was a bonus with someone else
Yeah.
teaching about all these different playful skills for intervening with kids. Um, and yeah, there I think that those would work well with him. And I think what I struggle with sometimes I think of it, but I'm so not in the mood. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know that
yeah.
like you do want at least a bit of it to be authentic,
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
it to actually come across as playful
For sure.
rather than just being like sarcastic with them or just kind of using it off the cuff and not really wanting to engage with them.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I think if I try it a few times, and I think it probably would be helpful, and maybe that would reinforce my own use of more playful limit setting and boundaries and engagement.
I know it is really hard when you're not in the mood. When you're tired, you're
Yeah,
frustrated, you haven't seen mom friends in like 5 months. You're
yeah,
like, I'm out. That's why, all of that stuff to fill your own cup is so, so important. But
yeah. Hmm.
it's okay. You're allowed to not be in the mood for that. And that's totally fine. You're allowed to have grumpy days. Like, that's totally fine too. And it's kind of a hard line to walk. Like, sometimes you don't want to be inauthentic, but then at other times we know that sometimes we can like fake it a little and then we feel like we're in a good mood, right? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
so you kind of have to just be aware of yourself and what's happening for you to see if that can be helpful and
Hmm.
effective for that.
Hmm. But I'll try to remember to try that even like the next couple of days and see what kind of response I get and how quickly he's able to disengage from or like jump into the play. And then I guess that kind of breaks him out of being stuck in what he wants to do. And then, playing, and then, listening to what mommy says, oh, yeah, we're going to the park. So, yeah, I'll try to remember to do that the next couple of days, and hopefully I can
And then the
see the
other final
benefits.
thing with this is that allow extra time
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at least 20 minutes when you're thinking about getting
Oh
a
yeah.
4-year-old out of the house. Like,
Yeah.
so that because that time pressure, it does stuff to
Yeah.
us, right? Like
Yeah.
it just like it triggers that threat response,
Yeah.
even if it's going to meet your friends at the
Yes.
park. It's
I agree.
crazy how like
Yeah.
time pressure feels to us, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I tend to now like even half an hour before I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, we have to start getting ready to go to the park. Because definitely like a month or so, I noticed that. I mean, partly I hadn't been meditating every day, but one of the things that I was noticing was when we were trying to get anywhere, um, it was inevitably a slow process. And even if there was very little like need for us to be going there or stress about the, the outing, I would get so frustrated because they would be suddenly these like slow motion people, in molasses, not wanting to do anything. And yeah, so I've been really, that's one of the things that when I started meditating again, to like think about those, observing more of those earlier signs in myself that I was getting triggered and feeling stressed and was trying to just push through to what I had in mind and my plan. And so when I noticed myself starting to like push through whatever their resistance is to like my plan, backing off and being like, okay, where are they right now? What do they need? They're taking their time. There isn't a huge, I don't need to be at us going at a certain time. So yeah, try to give us a lot of time because you're right, it's here the time pressure we put on ourselves.
Yeah, for me, a mantra that works so well is this is not an emergency.
Hmm.
It's not an emergency.
Right.
This is not an emergency. One of the funnest ways, the like playful ways I can think of to like get out, like kind of say you have to leave the park. You can be like to be just sort of bumbling. I think that's so funny. You can like walk into a tree. It's time to leave the park. Is this the way we go? Boom. And you just bump yourself into a tree and like ridiculous. And then they're like, no, no, mommy, this is where you go, silly. And you try to like go into the, whatever. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they can teach you that can be
Hmm.
fun.
Hmm. I guess that probably gives them a little, an instance of a bit of, power and authority over us and
Hmm.
autonomy, say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When they can teach you, it's brilliant. you're
Hmm.
you're like, here, have some autonomy,
Yeah.
child, and we will have some fun as well.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, this is so cool. So, now, is there anything other pressing that we need to cover before we close our call today?
I was just wondering if you had any opinion on bedtime is a bit of a challenge for us. So they're both in the same room, other back mattresses right next to each other. And it's often that like one of them, often our youngest one, um, he just wants to keep, he sees it as an opportunity to play and like yell and jump around and, avoid going to sleep, even if he's tired.
Mm,
And he's so little that it's like, he's 2.5. So I try to stay calm and ask, continue to ask him to lie down and stop yelling, stop talking. And but sometimes I literally have to like hold him in bed because not until that point, like he won't stop sometimes until I've like held him in bed for a bit, and then he gets angry. He's like, "Don't touch me, don't hold me."
yeah.
Um, and I don't like. I'd really rather not have to do that, but I don't know. He's so young. I don't know if there's any other like.
I mean, 2 years old, it's like it's so tempting. You got these other people here, you got your big brother here who you adore and you
Mhm.
admire. It's super, super tempting. I mean, I'm just wondering, it's like, obviously if this is happening so much and to the point where you have to restrain him and stuff like that, I'm wondering if there's any way you can avoid this. Where if you're starting to see if you could maybe put down like a sleeping bag in your room. And when you notice he's getting bouncy, you could say, oh boy, buddy, tonight I think we need to let you go lie down here in this other space. Is there a
Mm.
way that you could kind of, maybe like, because I know that having siblings share a room is a very intentional choice, right? I get it. My girls
Yeah.
shared a room when they're younger, but is there a way there could be like an alternative once in a while for him to go to sleep in?
Maybe I could try that, but the thing is that we had him by himself before, and our oldest in our room.
Hmm.
Um, and our youngest was being so rambunctious at bedtime, and our oldest has always been like a dream at bedtime. So we thought, oh, Cope will have a good influence on Forrest. But then the opposite happened. Our oldest was like, wait a second, bedtime can be playtime? Because he had never like made that connection. He always been like, okay, I read my book and go to bed. So then he's like, oh, I can play at bedtime. So then sometimes they'll like feed off each other, or sometimes it's our oldest a little bit, but more often they play a little bit, and then our oldest is like tired and asleep. And our youngest is like, I want to keep playing. I want to keep making this a big deal. So I mean, I could try. So like we had him alone, and it didn't. Yeah, it was just as difficult. So I don't know. Maybe it's just like it's just going to take some time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, some kids' bedtime is really hard for them. And yeah, it could be, people do there, you should definitely post in the group about this and ask some questions about how people do this because there's so many good questions. But it can be a conversation that you can do a win-win problem solving conversation with them all about this. um you know what do you need? What helps you calm down,
mhm,
buddy? Like what
mhm,
helps you feel sleepy? And start to ask him, involve them in the conversation. What helps you feel sleepy, older brother? Sometimes when to feel sleepy, I need to read before I go to bed. Sometimes to feel sleepy, my daughters, and my second daughter didn't go to sleep as easily as my first daughter, and she listened to like guided meditations on
hmm,
her on a CD player. They have tons of them for kids. That's like
mhm,
brilliant. They're just there's all so many resources for this. Insight Timer has a bunch of stuff which is totally free. um and some they have guided kids stories, sleep stories and things like that. All kinds of stuff out there. So there's a ton of resources, and it could be that going to sleep in a separate room is a natural consequence for keeping his brother up. I mean, that would
mhm,
seem to make sense. And if that's a disincentive, well, then that might be helpful for you.
yeah.
Another thing, sometimes parents, when you have a kid who doesn't want to be alone and wants to have some support around bedtime, that can be a great time to do your meditation practice. You could
Mm,
say, hey, buddy, okay, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to do my meditation right at the end of my
yeah.
bed. I'm going to breathe in and breathe out. You could even do a guided meditation. They're usually quite relaxing, right? They're not going to like keep
Mhm,
your son up.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
those can all be good ways to do it, but I would involve everyone in the family in the conversation.
Okay.
This just isn't working
Yeah.
the way it is right now. I'm
Yeah.
seeing you're getting so excited. I'm seeing your brother's being kept up. We need a different situation, you guys. How can we sort this out so everyone gets their needs met?
Mhm. That's a good idea because he's very he likes to have me close, but he when he wants to go to sleep, he doesn't want anyone touching him. He just wants them there. So that could be a good a good thing to try with the meditation.
Yeah. And what could be more calming than someone
Mhm.
meditating near you? I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, that would be great. Um, all right, cool.
Great.
Yes, good, good. Okay, well,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Courtney, we talked about a bunch of things.
Mhm.
We want to, I'm just going to like call it in from the universe. Please, someone send Courtney an amazing mother's helper and a babysitter and a local YMCA that has date nights, all of the above. And so we talked about that challenge. We talked about the not listening challenge. We talked about bedtime. What are you taking away from this conversation?
um, Definitely the two, well, the big ones to use with my oldest, the not making him not answering about a fight, and kind of trying to let it roll, um, and giving him, a chance to give me an answer without getting frustrated about it. And then also, yeah, when he's stuck in his playing, to try and get playful, to snap him out of it, and to move on to the next task. Yeah, and just to acknowledge that yes, I've been under a lot of stress and isolated, and uh, to try and find some sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Invite your husband to listen to this podcast
that.
conversation. And yeah, that should be really important priority because you're doing awesome. Like you're doing great. You're doing your meditation, you're practicing good communication, you're doing all this great stuff. You're thinking about their needs. You're really doing well. So as you move forward and you can solve some of those bigger problems, like you're really on the roll for things to get easier, and we're having some Zoom problems. And anyway, easier and easier as time goes on.
Yeah.
Because you're doing this work up front, I promise you it will get easier and easier
Good.
as time goes on.
Right.
But there is like a learning curve, right? Where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I know now what I want to do, but it's hard to do it right. Like,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
you're doing great. You're 6 months in, you're sticking with it, and it will get easier as time goes on. I promise.
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome,
thanks.
Courtney. Thank you so much for
My
volunteering to
pleasure.
come and do an honor coaching call. It's so fun.
Yeah, really fun.
Um,
Thanks.
yes, namaste. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you appreciated this on-air coaching call. I find they're so valuable. I get so much feedback from them. So if you liked it, please do, take a screenshot and then on Instagram, tag me at Mindful Mama Mentor, share it in your stories, and then I'll share it in mine. I love to share your ahas. It makes such a big difference, and I love like spreading good news, right? That we're like learning and growing and making things better. Yes, like this is stuff we should be spreading around. So, and listen, if you are interested in becoming a mindful parenting member, members, there's hundreds of members all around the world. They get 36 hours of live coaching every year. So they get the mindful parenting method. They really learn it so thoroughly. They get the accountability. We hook people up with accountability partners. We have this worldwide community. And the coaching, it makes such a big difference. So if you want to learn more and get on the wait list for next time we open the doors, go to mindfulparentingcourse.com. That's mindfulparentingcourse.com. And I'll let you know next time we open the doors and you can join us. Maybe you'll be on this next honor coaching call if you'd like to be. So yeah, that's at mindfulparentingcourse.com. And that's all I got for you today. I wish you a beautiful week. I wish you some peace and joy. I hope this helps you become more present and thoughtful and grounded and, ready to give your best to the world and to your family. Because, what could be a better way of spending our energy and our time? So, hoping you are breathing freely soon. I will be breathing freely soon. And I cannot wait to talk to you again next week. Thanks so much for listening. Namaste.
Say definitely do it. It's really helpful. It will change your relationship with your kids for the better. It will help you communicate better. And I'd say communicate better as a person, as a wife, as a spouse. It's been really a positive influence in our lives. So definitely do it.
I'd say definitely do it. It's so worth it. The money really is inconsequential when you get so much benefit from being a better parent to your children and feeling like you're connecting more with them and not feeling like you're yelling all the time or you're like, why isn't things working? I would say definitely do it. It's so worth it. It'll change you.
No matter what age someone's child is, it's a great opportunity for personal growth and it's a great investment in someone's family. I'm very thankful I had this.
You can continue in your old habits that aren't working, or you can learn some new tools and gain some perspective to shift everything in your parenting.
Are you frustrated by parenting? Do you listen to the experts and try all the tips and strategies, but you're just not seeing the results that you want? Or are you lost as to where to start? Does it all seem so overwhelming with too much to learn? Are you yearning for a community of people who get it, who also don't want to threaten and punish to create cooperation? Hi, I'm Hunter Clark Fields, and if you answered yes to any of these questions, I want you to seriously consider the Mindful Parenting membership. You'll be joining hundreds of members who have discovered the path of mindful parenting and now have confidence and clarity in their parenting. This isn't just another parenting class. This is an opportunity to really discover your unique, lasting relationship, not only with your children, but with yourself. It will translate into lasting, connected relationships, not only with your children, but your partner too. Let me change your life. Go to mindfulparentingcourse.com to add your name to the waitlist, so you will be the first to be notified when I open the membership for enrollment. I look forward to seeing you on the inside. mindfulparentingcourse.com.